It happened quietly, in a dim Manhattan nightclub in 1998. No cameras, no stunt doubles, and no second takes. When Jean-Claude Van Damme crossed paths with Chuck Zito, the encounter would expose the thin line between Hollywood's action fantasies and real-world violence. By the late 1990s, Van Damme was both a global action star and a man in free fall. He had made millions from hits like Bloodsport, Kickboxer, and Universal Soldier, but behind the success, his personal life was spiraling. He later admitted to spending nearly $10,000 a week on cocaine. His marriage was collapsing, and he was becoming increasingly paranoid about threats, real or imagined. To keep himself safe, Van Damme's team hired Chuck Zito, a man whose reputation spoke louder than words. Zito was a former boxer, the New York president of the Hells Angels, and a respected figure in both the motorcycle world and the city's underground. He had worked with celebrities before, but Van Damme was a different challenge, unpredictable, erratic, and often under the influence. From day one, their relationship was uneasy. Van Damme was used to people who catered to his every demand. Zito came from a world where respect was earned, not bought. Whenever Van Damme issued an order, Zito pushed back. The action star saw that as defiance. Zito saw it as standing his ground. As the weeks went by, Van Damme's drug use and impulsive behavior made the job nearly impossible. He would stay up all night, make strange plans, and expect Zito to follow along. Eventually, Zito had enough. He told Van Damme's management he was done. The money wasn't worth the stress. The two men parted ways on bad terms, with bruised egos and unfinished business. Neither could have known that just months later, they'd cross paths again, in a setting built for tension. In 1998, New York's nightlife was alive, loud music, dark corners, and a mix of Wall Street money and street-level muscle. Strip clubs were common meeting grounds where celebrities brushed shoulders with bikers, mobsters, and businessmen. It was one of those nights when Van Damme walked into a popular Manhattan club with a few friends, looking for escape. He was still chasing the rush, the attention, the thrill, the noise that helped drown out his demons. Across the room, Chuck Zito was already there, sitting with his own group. He wasn't there to party. He was conducting business, calm and collected. When he spotted Van Damme, he felt the old tension return. Their professional fallout hadn't been forgotten. The club's energy changed instantly. Two alpha personalities in one room, both aware of the other, neither willing to back down. Music thumped. Drinks flowed. The distance between them shrank with every minute. At first, the two ignored each other. But witnesses say Van Damme grew louder, fueled by alcohol and bravado. Then, unable to let it go, he stood and walked toward Zito's table. Zito remained seated, calm, eyes steady. Van Damme stood over him, visibly agitated, perhaps looking to prove something. Their conversation started tense and only escalated. Van Damme accused Zito of quitting on him. Zito fired back about Van Damme's unprofessionalism and drug use. The back and forth drew the attention of nearby patrons. Zito stayed composed, but those who knew him could tell his body language had changed. He was alert, ready. Van Damme's tone turned mocking. He questioned Zito's toughness, calling him a glorified bodyguard who worked for people stronger than himself. It was a jab that crossed a line. Zito didn't shout. He simply warned, "You're talking to the wrong guy." But Van Damme kept pushing, maybe trying to save face in front of his entourage, maybe just too intoxicated to read the danger. At that point, it wasn't a question of if something would happen, only when. According to Zito's later account, Van Damme eventually turned to leave. He was adjusting his glasses mid-sentence when Zito decided enough was enough. The former boxer rose slightly and snapped a right hand straight into Van Damme's jaw, followed instantly by a left hook. Two clean, professional punches. Bam! Bam! Van Damme never saw them coming. The impact sent him tumbling backward, crashing into a friend's lap. Before anyone could react, Zito kept throwing, a quick, practiced rhythm. When he covered his head, I hit the body, Zito later wrote. When he covered the body, I hit the face. It lasted maybe 30 seconds, though to witnesses, it felt much longer. The difference between movie fighting and real fighting became painfully clear. Van Damme's cinematic training, the spinning kicks and choreographed combos, meant nothing against a real boxer's speed and power. He barely fought back. The man who played unstoppable heroes on screen was being dismantled in front of a stunned crowd. When the bouncers finally rushed in, the damage was done. Van Damme's face was swollen, his shirt torn, his confidence shattered. The fight was over almost as soon as it began. After the chaos, the contrast between the two men was striking. Van Damme sat dazed, trying to make sense of what had happened. Zito calmly straightened his jacket, checked his watch, and sat back down. He wasn't gloating. He simply looked like a man who had settled unfinished business. Club security quickly separated them and ordered both to leave. Van Damme's friends helped him outside, shielding him from curious eyes. The once untouchable action star looked broken, his swagger gone. Zito walked out a few minutes later, unbothered, composed, his reputation intact. The club's management wanted no headlines. No police were called. Everyone involved knew that publicity would only hurt careers. Within hours, the story was already being buried. Word of the fight spread quietly through New York's nightlife circles and the Hollywood gossip chain. But there was no viral internet back then, and Van Damme's team worked hard to contain the damage. Officially, nothing had happened. Unofficially, everyone in certain circles knew the truth. Van Damme didn't talk about it publicly. The silence was telling. He was humiliated but not seriously injured. His body would recover, but his pride wouldn't. The real wound was to his image. He had built a career as a martial arts hero. Now people whispered that he'd been exposed by a biker with real fighting experience. Zito, for his part, stayed relatively quiet for years. He didn't boast. But when asked about it on the Howard Stern show, and later in his autobiography, he confirmed what had happened. Not to brag, he said, but to set the record straight. What made the story resonate wasn't just the violence, it was what it represented. Van Damme had lived in a world of choreographed danger, where every punch was rehearsed and every opponent knew when to fall. Zito lived in the opposite world, one ruled by respect, where reputation was earned in real confrontations. The bar fight became an accidental parable about those two realities colliding. Van Damme's fame meant nothing to Zito. In Zito's world, titles and movie posters carried no weight. Only how a man handled himself under pressure mattered. And that night, the difference was exposed in brutal clarity. For Van Damme, the fight marked a low point in an already turbulent period. His drug addiction deepened, his marriage disintegrated, and his career momentum faded. Hollywood's golden boy was suddenly human, vulnerable, flawed, and humbled. For Zito, it was the opposite. The incident quietly enhanced his reputation. He didn't seek publicity, but among those who knew the story, it reinforced his image as a man who wouldn't be disrespected, regardless of fame or fortune. The fight also highlighted a universal truth about image and authenticity. In movies, Van Damme's slow-motion kicks and split-leg poses defined him as a warrior. But in reality, fighting isn't about choreography. It's about control, timing, and nerve. Zito had all three. Years later, Van Damme would turn his life around. He got sober, repaired his personal relationships, and regained Hollywood's respect through self-awareness and humility. But he never denied that he'd learned a hard lesson about ego, and about the difference between being a fighter on screen and surviving one in real life. Looking back, the clash between Van Damme and Zito wasn't just a bar fight. It was a meeting of symbols. One represented Hollywood illusion, a carefully crafted image of strength and confidence. The other represented raw, lived experience, toughness without cameras, without applause. Their confrontation in that Manhattan club became a moment of truth neither could escape. It stripped away pretense and revealed something deeper about both men. Van Damme, for all his fame, was still human. Zito, for all his toughness, showed restraint. He didn't gloat, didn't press charges, didn't exploit the story. He simply walked away knowing he'd proven his point. Decades later, the story still circulates online, half myth, half memory. Some fans refuse to believe their hero could be beaten so easily. Others see it as proof that movie fighting isn't the same as fighting for real. But beyond the debate, the lesson remains powerful. Respect isn't about fame, and toughness isn't about image. They're both about how you act when no cameras are rolling. That night, in a dark New York strip club, movie magic met street reality, and reality won. Van Damme walked in as an action hero and left as a humbled man who'd been reminded that reputation means nothing without respect. Chuck Zito walked out with his composure intact, a quiet symbol of authenticity in a world obsessed with appearances. In the end, it wasn't just a story about fists, it was a story about ego, humility, and truth. A reminder that behind every screen-made warrior is a real person, and sometimes the hardest hits aren't on camera at all. So the next time you see a Hollywood fight scene, The perfect kicks, the slow-motion punches. Remember this one. The fight that no one filmed. The one that proved there's a difference between acting tough and being tough. And in that difference, Jean-Claude Van Damme learned one of the hardest lessons of his life. So what do you think? Should famous people be held to the same standards as everyone else when it comes to respect? And does this incident change how you view action movie heroes? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.